series Supreme Family Chaos. Creator Eliza Phoenix. Chapter 6 Love Changes One's View. Summary: Stephen realizes how much Peter means to him. Oh, ew, slime? Not cool, man. Peter shakes a glob of his arm. This suit isn't easy to wash, you know. He webs on the alien against a bridge and ejects the empty cartridge from his web shooters and replaces it. Sam laughs over the comm. Looks like Mama Bear has to do laundry again. Stephen grumbles at the nickname. I hate you. In truth, he really didn't. He was sadly accustomed to the Avengers calling him some form of mum, and while they said it to tease, Peter meant it. He would be lying if he said that it didn't make his heart melt. Sure, it was kinda different being referred to a feminine term, but it grew on him, much like Peter did. The Doctor shields himself from an attack from an alien tentacle, while at the same time hearing a shout of surprise from Peter over the comm. Before Stephen can even open his mouth to ask Spider-Man's help, Tony curses. Mama Bear, Spider Baby's down. Strange restrains an approaching alien with a whip. I'm a little occupied at the moment. Can it wait? Oh, sure. He's not going anywhere with the reaver coming out of his stomach, the genius shouts. Stephen throws the alien away and dispels his whip as he flies to Tony's and Peter's location. Once he lands by the unconscious teen, the scene before him had his stomach rolling. He may have been a doctor, but seeing Peter impaled on a metal rod, it was different when the injured party was someone you loved. He actually froze. His hands trembled. The doctor was out. Tony's repulsors was the only thing that brought him out of his momentary panic. That and the fact the man was actually smacking his cheek with the other hand. Stephen inhales sharply and finds himself looking into the dark brown eyes full of concern. You back? The sorcerer nods. Good. Mama Bear needs to take a step back and let the doctor through. Stephen studies the rebar and glances back at Tony. Cut the base. I need to pull it and take him to the med bay. Tony does so, and with a nod from the sorcerer, extracts the metal rod from Peter's abdomen. Both men winces when the boy cries out, motivating Stephen to open a portal as he tells Cloak to gently pick up the boy. It wastes no time going through the portal once he picks up the boy, and Stephen looks back at Tony after stepping through himself. We'll finish up here. Just worry about getting the kid patched up. Nanites reconstructs Tony's mask, and the billionaire flies off, leaving Stephen to close the portal and rush to Peter's aid. He knew that the teen would be fine once the doctor tended to the majority of his wounds, and eventually Peter's enhanced healing would take care of the rest. It still frightened him, though. I'm going to go gray as your father at this rate. Scarred hands trembled as Stephen rinses off the blood, and he looks up when the door slides open. Bruce quietly slips into the room, with Tony behind him. The former joins Stephen, and the latter pulls up a chair next to Peter's bedside. Silence hangs on the air when Stephen turns off the faucet, and he accepts the towel Bruce offers him. Tony said you froze, Bruce mutters. The sorcerer sighs. What kind of a doctor does that? Stephen, he's your kid. I'd be worried if you didn't. Bruce smiles. Now you can let the mom out. Strain groans at the term, but nods in agreement as he drags a second chair next to Tony and deposits himself onto it. Bruce leaves, and they spend the next couple of hours in more silence. At one point, Stephen leans to rest his head on the genius's shoulder until Peter finally wakes. No noise of discomfort was made. He simply opened his eyes, watched the couple at his bedside doze, then proceeded to scratch his cheek lazily. "Did you get the license plate of the semi-truck that hit me?" Tony and Stephen jolt to attention at the teen's question before the eldest scowls at the youngest. "I don't want to hear any sass from you. You scared the shit out of us, Underoos." Peter looks down at his hands and picks a string on his blanket. "It's not like I meant to get hurt." Tony sighs tiredly. "I know, kid." "Any pain?" Stephen asks quietly. "Just sore." "Can we watch Star Wars?" Tony chuckles. "Sure, kid. If Mom says you can leave the medbay." Stephen predicted the look before Peter even turned his Bambi eyes on him. But still, he visibly deflated. Even he wasn't immune to the look, and that was very troublesome. "As long as you take it easy." "Yes, whoa!" Peter clings to Tony when he scoops the teen up. "I'm not a baby, I can walk." "Yes, you are, my baby." "I won't carry just anyone, so you should be grateful." Tony carries Peter out of the medbay and to his and Stephen's room, and the sorcerer opens the door. The billionaire walks in and carefully lays Peter in the middle of the bed before turning back to the door and leaving out the room. Peter turns the television on while Stephen takes the time to change into more comfortable clothing, and Tony returns a couple of minutes later with Peter's pajamas. "I've taken the liberty to dispose of your Captain America shirt." "Oh, come on!" Peter catches the clothes thrown at him and only grimaces once while changing. "It was the only one I had." Stephen winks at the teen while Tony changes. "It's a blow to his ego, you know, when you have something that isn't Iron Man related." "Not true." Tony chucks an oil-stained shirt at his boyfriend before slipping into bed, and Stephen throws the offending article in the hamper. He joins the two after the cloak settles in the corner of the room, and Peter curls into Tony's side when he starts the movie. The genius dozes off halfway in the movie, and Stephen kept most of his attention on watching Peter. With how often the teen watches the movies, he could probably quote them word for word. So he insisted on watching any signs of discomfort from his kid. There was none. Peter fell asleep towards the end of the movie, still tucked into his father's side, and Stephen settled onto his side, facing his family. "Peter, Friday, turn off the television and set the light to spiderling level, please," the doctor whispers. The television goes black and lights dim until Stephen can barely make out the furnitures in the room. It was dark enough to disturb Tony or Stephen, but light enough for Peter in case the teen woke up from another nightmare. Some light seemed to help stave off any panic attack from waking from one, so Tony made it a custom setting. Peter slept better because of it. "Stephanie, I can hear you thinking. Go to sleep." Tony grumbles and wraps a protective arm around Peter and falls back asleep. With the knowledge that Peter was alive and safe, he did, but not before threading trembling fingers into the waves of his son's hair.